Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Ness46 playing in his top tier American heavy tank, the T10E5. And I'm just wondering, is that a reference to the protagonist from Earthbound? If it is, Ness46, please let me know in the comments down below. But immediately Ness is facing a decision, one that might make all the difference in the game on Live Oaks. Does he want to push into the town, this stereotypical location for the heavies to enter, or does he instead want to go down the east and then push along the south? Considering there are 3 artillery on the enemy team, usually a heavy tank would go and cower behind the buildings, but it looks like Ness is instead going to be helping out his good buddy in the SDB1. And you know what, also, considering that they've got 3 top tier heavy tanks on the enemy team and a bunch of very good mid-tier heavy tanks as well, I think that the town is probably going to suffer. And I think that it's very important that their platoon, and including the SDB1, which will be fantastic down a flank like this, pushes hard and they at least win one flank on this map. And as long as you do manage to get into the ditch down here, you are pretty much safe from artillery. The worst thing the Ness could do right now would be to sit up on this ridgeline. If you're sitting up on this ridgeline against 3 artillery, you are going to have your butt absolutely whooped. Even hiding along this kind of area, or indeed going around there, you are going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble. However, by taking this location and working the slope, he should be able to avoid the artillery on the enemy team a little bit more. And also, he can probably rest assured that the artillery on the enemy team are instead going to be engaging targets like the Griller and the Lerva, who are completely caught out in the open. Talk about being caught out completely in the open. Ness finds a tank that eventually wants to grow up to be just like him, this T32, out in the open, and puts his first round into the Tier 8 American heavy tank. He's locked him down now with a second shot to the tracks. Maybe the artillery on his team will be supporting him, but you know what? He doesn't really need the support of the artillery on his team facing that vehicle. The T32 has decent hull armor for its tier, but as soon as you start to have the 258mm of penetration that this 120mm main armament has, then the hull armor doesn't really matter. One thing I also just noticed about Ness's loadout. Did I just combine notice and loadout into no doubt? Okay. That he's not using any heat ammunition, so we're going to have to see if that works out for him later on in the gameplay. Hold on. Did I just hear an ammo rack? Did Ness's SDB1 buddy just lose his head? Oh yes, he did. He just lost his head to the AMX CDC on the enemy team. Wow, that certainly changes Ness's situation here. He pretty much came over to this flank to support his SDB1 teammate. Now he's completely lost his head, and he's left Ness alone against a wealth of Tier 8 opponents on the enemy team. Now, Tier 8 tanks wouldn't be that much of a trouble for a T10E5 as long as he can keep the engagement frontal, and he just takes them on one by one, and he avoids the artillery on the enemy team. And we can clearly see that Ness is doing exactly that, using the ridgeline to avoid the artillery, only poking up when he feels it's completely safe to be able to do so, putting in shots and immediately pulling back. Everything you need to do to put on that umbrella for when you're playing against artillery, I guess. Will Ness try and go around slightly towards the north of this ridge? He just spotted it. He spotted the IS-3, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to find him now. The IS-3 is very likely to be all the way behind this little ridge line here, and he's not going to be able to spot him, but he's going to have a go for it anyway. Is he going to find him and prove me wrong? Nope, he certainly isn't. And right now it's starting to look really ugly. Ness is... Oh, I thought Ness was the only person who got a kill, but actually he hasn't got a kill yet for his 3,000 damage, which is quite unusual. But the Scorpion is the only player on his team who has picked up a kill. But, well, there you go. The Batchat 15555 picks up a kill there. But he is down significantly. That is that 7 tanks down on his team, half of his team eradicated. He's going to have to certainly put his carry pants on if he wants to win this. And carry pants engaged as he pushes forwards to go and take on that SP1C, who seems to just be sitting there, the light flashing before his eyes. Oh my word, Ness doesn't even bother to shoot that Tier 7 German light tank, instead of ramming him to death and turning his attention to the Ripper Pattern, the M46 on the enemy team. He sets him on fire, but the M46 puts the fire out. The AMX CDC, who ammo-racked his buddy in the SDB1, locks down his tracks. Please no artillery, please no artillery. He had his bum right lined up to where the artillery are usually sitting, and it doesn't look like they were quite focused on him. A little bit of luck. Then that IS-3 we were talking about earlier pops round, and Ness has certainly changed the outcome of this game. Picking up 3 kills in quick succession. Can he finish off the Mutz? Oh, he's having to weather the storm of artillery right now. Yes, he does. hopefully saving the Gorilla on his team all of the hit points that he possibly can. And now they're right back in it. With the Gorilla picking up a kill, Ness picking up 4 kills, possibly going to pick up 5 kills here as he's engaging a T110E5 in the side. And oh gosh, that looks like that went underneath the gun and just over the front of the hull. How annoying is it when a tank seems to be trundling along at long ranges and then suddenly just decides to stop as you fire? I know that I feel that all the time, the frustration. I bet you Ness felt that as well. But luckily, however, the T110E5 allowed a second chance and he doesn't mess it up, taking down the Tier 10 American heavy tank on the enemy team. So now it is 3 versus 7, and the Batchat 15555 on his team seems to be making his last stand, unfortunately only doing 88 damage to the T110E5. That certainly isn't going to save his life, but hopefully Ness can take advantage of the T110E5 being distracted and put a round into the back of his tank. He does indeed, 419 damage, leaving the T110E5 on 29% of his hit points, 627 health to be exact. He fires, bounces off his lower plate, and really these are the kind of situations where I expect those heat rounds would have been giving Ness definitive advantage here, but the E75 is angled so much that he's not really going to need more than an AP round to go through the side of that tank. Indeed, he penetrates him, turns his attention back to the T110E5, who's on 627 hit points, and as Ness fires, he disappears. Did it penetrate? Yes, it did. He's now down to 210. Good roll there, just above average, and now hopefully Ness can penetrate the lower plate of the E5. Instead, he tracks him, and I like what Ness is doing right now. You think, well, why doesn't he just pull back behind the ridgeline? But he is actually using the cover of these rail carts to avoid the artillery on the enemy team. He bounces an E75, he bounces the E5. Will he be able to penetrate the T110E5? No, that's the next ricochet. Again, AP rounds against an T110E5 at these kind of ranges, you know, it's hit and miss. Really, you have to hit the lower plate or get lucky when you hit the cupola to be able to take each other out. But they're both having slugs. The artillery hitting the rail carts, blowing them up. 51 damage done there by the M5355 as it splashes through. But luckily, that's not the biggest danger now to Ness. He's still got 941 of his hit points left, so he can take a lot more of those kind of hits. But all it will take is one good artillery shell over. Oh gosh, that one landing very near Ness's tank. He's also got to worry about where's the E75 on the enemy team, where's the T28 prototype. Ness looks like he's stopped messing about. He absorbs a high explosive round from the T110E5 on the enemy team and then finishes him off as he overangles his armor. Now the IS-7 seems to be advancing towards him. Great shot there into the lower plate, 407 damage, reducing him to a one-shot. Hopefully Ness can hit the lower plate right now as the IS-7 advances towards him. Oh, it ricochets off. Not sure if that went just underneath or indeed hit him on the beak and just maybe had a low penetration roll. Hopefully the next shell does go in. Yes, great result, right into the corner. But unfortunately, Ness lost a lot of his remaining hit points there, I believe, to the GWE 100 on the enemy team. Gosh, those artillery, look at them. They've been doing some serious work. They've picked up 7 kills between them. They really have been the difference in this game. But talk about differences in this game, Ness has more than made up for the 7 kills that the enemy artillery have pulled off, although now down to 261 hit points. One artillery splash from the enemy team is going to be more than enough to take him out. A T28 prototype hitting him in the side. The E75 hitting him anywhere really in the front. If he can hit the lower plate, is going to be able to take Ness out. Luckily it ricochets and his shell flies true right into the lower plate of the E75, taking down the Tier 9 German heavy tank. Now where will Ness go? He has changed a 1 versus 7 into a 1 versus 4. And now he's also removed the top tier heavy tanks on the enemy team. The T110E5, the IS-7 and the E75. Now all he has to worry about is the T28 prototype, which is a well-armored tier 8 American turreted tank destroyer. But it shouldn't really be able to hold up that well to the 258mm of penetration that Ness has. He should be able to hit him obviously anywhere in the side, mostly anywhere in the front as well, although if he is using his gun depression, the upper hull can be quite strong, and even the cheeks of the front of the turret a little bit of a weak point. They have recently, I think in the last few patches, given that tank a roof finally, but we don't have time to talk about that, and that's because there's an M5355 trying to sneak on Ness's position and try and play a bit of a scouting role. Doesn't look like that's quite going to work out though, as Ness doesn't even get spotted and puts a great hit into the top of the M5355. This is such an important shell. Oh, beautiful shot. Flies completely true, taking out the Tier 9 American self-propelled gun. Great result there for Ness. Now he's on 9 kills, and he's changed his 1 versus 7 into a 1 versus 3. And that artillery, he had been very effective. That artillery had picked up a couple of kills. Is he in a platoon with the other artillery? Yes, just one of them. And remember, those 7 kills on the artillery, let's hope that they don't turn it into 8. And let's hope that Nez, who's going to be gunning for a Pools medal with this next shot. God, Pools medals at tier 10 are always awesome. If you can kill 2/3 of the enemy team in your tier 10 tanks, you know that you're having a very good day. And talking about very good day, 7,456 damage that we have seen, and we know that there's at least one shell against the T110E5 on the enemy team that was not seen by the damage counter. So Nez is probably more closer to 8,000 damage in this round. Now he's got 4 minutes left in this game. I don't think he can afford to hang around. I think one of the reasons why he was staying there is because he was thinking that the T28 prototype was going to roll into the cap. But luckily, Nez seems to have very good view range in this tank. I wouldn't be surprised if he's either got an extremely experienced crew or if he's using coated optics instead of vents in this tank. And that has given him the advantage against the T28 prototype. He indeed outspots him, puts a shot into his side, and he doesn't even get spotted. So it doesn't look like the T28 prototype was using coated optics or had a very skilled crew. And so Nez gets the drop on him even, shuts him down, and now there are only 2 remaining self-propelled guns on the enemy team. But 3 minutes and 30 seconds to track them down. Now what should he do right now? Should he try and pressure the cap circle? Does he have to worry that the enemy artillery might be making their way off towards his cap circle? There's so many things that could be happening here. I think when you're in these kind of situations against tanks and you're not a very fast vehicle, or you have absolutely no idea where they're going to be, it's usually a good idea to pressure the cap circle. However, artillery on this map are generally quite predictable. They're either going to be hiding in the corner, or more likely they're going to be hiding in this little dip over here, this little undulation that they're going to have to, well, he's going to have to dig them out of. So it's rather dangerous right now. As we mentioned, 261 hit points. That means that even a splash from either of these tanks should be enough to take out the fairly weak side armor of the T10E5. Now Ness has decided he's got 3 AP rounds left, so he's going to have to start to dig into his high explosive rounds. And these high explosive rounds are very efficient at taking out softly armored targets, such as the Lorraine 155-51 on the enemy team. And if he manages to shoot the superstructure of the GWE-100 or the side, he should be able to penetrate as well. Although the 120mm high explosive rounds have got 60mm of penetration and 515 alpha damage, so it's still going to be touch and go. Surely his priority first has to be take out the fast tank, the Lorraine, and there it is, right in front of him. Slam dunk, 390 damage done, and the GWE-100 misses him! That has to be one of the best feelings in the world. That means that he has got all the time that he wants to shut down this artillery. You could see with his mouse movements, I think he was probably jumping for joy at the fact that he's going to shut down the GWE-100, pick up his 12th kill, pick up a Pascucci's medal, and secure over 9,000 damage this game if we also take into account some of the blind shots that he pulled off. So what an unbelievable result here for Ness46. He got so many medals that they're overlapping and there's barely enough space to present all of them. He picks up the Steel Wall medal for ricocheting the most damage in this game, and the only person who could have possibly got it, considering he was the last tank standing, 4,360 damage blocked here. A high caliber for the 9,346 damage that he dealt. He also got a crucial contribution medal, which is absolutely hilarious because his platoon mate, after getting ammo wrecked, didn't get a single kill. So Ness, I'm sure that you're going to give your buddy a good ribbing over that one. You basically gifted him one of the hardest platoon medals to get in World of Tanks. Also a defender. For how much defense? 82 base defense points, a tank sniper for dealing the most damage at long range, a Pools medal for his 12 kills, in addition to a Pascucci's medal for killing 3 of the enemy artillery, and the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, in this case 7. This result is even more impressive considering that Ness didn't even load a single heat round at his tank and makes 60,000 credits profit. Ness46, congratulations to you on this absolute scorcher. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you so much for uploading this on the What Replays website for the community to enjoy. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And simply click your more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of other awesome T110E5 replays. And as always, thanks for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.